In today's video, I'm sharing with you some thrift flips from items I found at the thrift store to use in my home. Here we go.
This video is a compilation video of thrift flips I've done in the past, so you may have seen some of these on some of my other channels. I do want to also share some fall thrift flips. Those are at the end of the video if you're thinking about fall already. So let's get into it.
First, I'm going to start with, I wanted to show you what it looks like unpainted. I'm actually going to paint this yellow. I normally would do a base of white chalk paint, but I don't have any white chalk paint. So I'm just going to try painting it with the acrylic paint. I'm probably going to rough it up a little bit so the paint adheres a little bit better, and then I'll go ahead and paint it. I'm going to wipe it down with a little bit of alcohol. That gets the dust off, but doesn't make the project wet. All right. After some thought, I did not like the way the acrylic paint was going on. It was just requiring too many coats. So I did go and buy some chalk paint in Art Mines. I think it's called like Moonwalk. So it's this bright cherry yellow, and it took 2 coats. Much happier with that. I will not make that mistake again. And it's a color I've been wanting to add to my collection, so it's okay. All right, so here it is with 2 coats. I'm gonna sand it off a little, and then I'm gonna do a little bit of this antique wax just to give it that kind of, darken it up a little and give it a little bit more of an antique look. And then I'm going to turn this little puppy into an organization center for my craft room here. So I saw this on, I think it was on Pinterest or maybe on an online catalog. If I can find the picture, that was the original inspo years ago. I'm talking like 2 or 3 years ago now. I will insert it into this video, but this will go behind it. And then I created these cute little magnets so I can magnet things here, and I'll be able to hang it and use the shelves too. So let's go ahead and finish this up. All right, you can see I've got it all nicely distressed. I'm really happy with how that sandpaper did it. So that was good. Now I'm going to add a little of the antique wax. To put on the antique wax, I just use a brush and a rag and some water, depending on what the look I'm going for. This, I think I'm just going to brush it on and then wipe it off. Let's see what we think. Looks dark, don't worry. It's not going to be that dark. And I just give it a little dip into the water and wipe it off. Oops, and it just makes it look a little dirty. It doesn't look so bright and shiny. Doing it in little sections at a time so I can get it to look the way I want it to. Maybe I'll just apply it with a rag. I've done that before. Yeah. Then it's like you wipe it on and you're wiping it off. Here it is all waxed up. So the idea here is I wanted this, if you look at the inspiration piece that I put the picture in, maybe I can reinsert it. It looks like, so sundries, I looked it up, were little dry goods that were sold at like pharmacies and little 5 and 10s. And so that's why I wanted to look like it was hanging in a shop for years. And now I happen to be repurposing it to use in my craft room for storage. So I am going to put sundries up here. And then I will, but I'm probably going to do that last because I need to print out a decal with my Cricut. But I'm going to do the rest of it with the chicken wire now. And then I'll come back and do the detail later. Now I know I didn't paint the back and someone's going to get upset about that, but this is never going to be seen. It's going to be up against a wall and I didn't want to waste my paint. So that's why I didn't. So I'm going to use a staple gun to staple my, this is called chicken wire ribbon. They sell it at Michael's. And the idea here is that it's just a little easier to work with than like a big thing of chicken wire that I would have to cut down. I still might have to cut this down a little, although no, I think I'm going to let it hang beyond the bottom a little so that I have another layer of being able to magnet things. That's a good idea. I just had it right here on camera. So I'm going to cut a piece and staple it down. And then if I need to like address any of the ends that might be sharp, I will do that after it's stapled. I'm going to use a wire cutter to cut this. Wondering if I fold these in with a plier, it might be easier to deal with. Where's my plier? One of my family members took it. All right, I can't find my needle nose pliers. I'm thinking my husband probably used them for something, and I love him so much. But I think that these will work just as well. I'm going to try folding these in and then stapling it in such a way that this is kind of lined up to the edge, and this way I don't have to deal with the sharpness once it's on the project, and I can tuck these like on the inside instead. That's what I'm thinking. Needle nose would definitely make this easier. That's okay. We make do. All right, kind of looks like little hearts, doesn't it? Cute. All right, so let's see how that fits. Yeah, I think that'll be good. Let's see if that went through the other side. A little bit. You know, I'm figuring this out as I go here. I know I make videos, but I am not a professional crafter. I've told you that before. Let's see, if I go lower at least. There we go. That was a good one. You just want to be really careful with the little pieces that fly off. Okay, now I'm going to use my pliers again to bend these ends in. They're probably going to show, well, they're either going to show on the outside or they're going to show on the inside. I'm thinking on the inside will be less noticeable, like over here. So that's what we're going to shoot for. You know, this is a rustic piece anyway, so it's okay. It's supposed to look like rustic. Not trying to make something that looks like it came from Target. Just pressing them down. Make sure they're as flat as I can make them. Okay. All right, so that's what the back looks like. And here's the front. Oh, it's so cute. All right, let's get our lettering done. Oh, look at that. We got some little rusticness. I'm going to have to push that staple down a little, and I'm just not going to worry about, we went for rustic and we got it. But I am a little worried about the sharpness of that, so I will deal with that. All right, I made my decal on my Cricut. And I'm gonna do my best to get this straight and centered. I like the curve with it. It's totally from the inspiration piece, but I like it. Now, I'm not sure it's perfectly lined up with those grid lines. So I'm not focusing only on the grid lines. It looks like it's probably pretty good with the grid lines. I want that D in the middle. I think that's about right. You know, close enough. Then we're gonna burnish. I always have to go back to a video because I don't do Cricut enough to remember all the steps. There's a video from Maker's Gonna Make. I think Maker's Gonna Learn. And first of all, she has the best Southern accent. But it's such a helpful video. If I remember, I'll link it down below. It's the one I always watch every time I do a Cricut project. All right. There we go. Looks good. Cute. Cute, cute, cute. All right, now I'm gonna get some nails and hang this puppy up. All right, I got it hung up. This is the little area behind me where you might see me film videos. So there's the door. This is my cute little project. And here it is from a distance. I've had it up for a few days. So I've been using it, but it's been really great. These magnets are useless. They're cute looking, but there's not enough metal in this fencing for them to be able to hold. The magnets are good, but there's not enough metal there. So anyway, that's, you know, if you really want to use it as like a magnet board, better to use something else other than this chicken wire. Maybe the regular chicken wire would be better. I don't know. But this is useful. I can definitely clip things on here. And it has been great to have access to all of these little things that I use a lot when I'm sitting here, but I don't have to have them on my desk now. Because my desk, I don't want to show it to you. It's kind of messy because that's why I'm making all these organizational things. But there's no drawers. So I just have a lot of stuff like on my surface. So this was great to get that stuff off the desk surface. All right, let's go on to the next project. Okay, this next desk organizing project is not an upcycle for me, but it definitely could be for you. I am using a Dollar Tree frame just because I have it in my stash, but if I didn't have this, I would have just pulled one of my frames from my upcycling, because really all you need is a frame with glass or plastic in it. Now, I don't love the color of this, so I am going to paint it. I'm going to paint mine plain white, and then I'm going to put a little decoration. But basically, I am creating a little message board or memo board for my desk so I can write my to-do list when I'm sitting here. So let's go ahead and take this out and get it painted up. By the way, you'll also need scrapbook paper. I picked a light color, and you'll see why that's important. I'm going to paint mine with white chalk paint. You could use any color you want. Okay, I have put 2 coats of paint onto my little Dollar Tree frame. Then I neglected to press record, but I cut out a piece of paper using this as my guide. I kind of liked the design here, so I used this little piece of glass as my template, which some of you suggested the last time I did a similar project. I was like, why didn't I think of that? You know, it takes a village to come up with all the ideas. That's why we have YouTube, right? Okay, so I cut my piece of paper. I'm just going to put my glass in, making sure there's no fingerprints on it, which I already did. And I'm just gonna put it like this. Now, I could stop here because this would be perfectly fine for an erasable to-do list, but I want to add, you know, a little detail to it. So I got this bag of trims at Bibles for Missions. It's a favorite thrift store of mine. And I think I'm going to use this piece here. I'm going to cut it a little longer because you can see it has a tendency to fray. I'm going to cut a little extra, maybe. Now, this will bother some of you. The back of my thing is not going to be very pretty, but that's okay because I'm just using it on my desk. If I were going to sell this, or if I were bothered by that, I could also make the back look nice. So that is a personal choice. So that being said, because I don't want to waste my supplies, you know, like wrapping my trim all the way around, because I'm not bothered by it because it's just going to sit here on my desk. But, you know, if I were making this for a gift, I would use different standards. Okay, so I have my hot glue gun heating up. And, yeah, I'm just going to glue this. Ooh, I'm dropping stuff. Glue this to the back. Oh, I need my rubber finger thingy. I'm going to burn myself. These are the best. If you haven't tried them, they're from the Dollar Tree, and they save your fingertips. Oops. So I'm just going to do that. Make sure it looks straightish. And we can always adjust it if we need to. That looks pretty good. Okay. There we go. And we've got it all glued to the frame. All right, and then I'm just gonna use some of these little Dollar Tree flowers just to decorate the corner, you know, because it's pretty and makes me happy. That's the thing with crafting. You have to do stuff that makes you happy. Now, I don't want to block too much of my list. Let's see, how do I want to do this? Do I have one that's a little shorter, or are they all the same? And maybe I want to use some little greenery. I'm going to do that. I'm going to add a little greenery. Use my rubber finger again. It's really hot. Really hot. So I'm just going to kind of put that there. Whoops. We can always take care of the glue webs later. Do I want another piece of greenery? Yeah, maybe. A little piece to stand off the edge. And again, this is all just for my own like pleasure because I'm the one that's going to be seeing it. I'm just going to use it on my desk. So it's really whatever makes me happy. Oh, that's kind of nice. Ooh, a lot of glue webs happening. That one's long. Do I have a shorter one? Or I can cut it shorter. I'm just going to cut one shorter. I'm going to do that. There we go. Pretty. Okay, and then I think I want to put one down the side. It'll look nice. And then we have to figure out something to make the corner look okay. Maybe I don't know, a little piece of the trim maybe or something. Cute, cute, cute. Could add that flower in if we wanted to. Yeah. Okay. Let that petal cover. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to just take a little piece of my trim. Maybe I just want, what if I did like that, like a bookmark? Oh, that's kind of pretty. And it looks kind of like a bookmark. It's kind of nice. All right. You know what? I think I'm going to do that. And I'm going to cheat and put a little glue on the end there so that doesn't unravel on me. Now, I don't recommend doing this if you don't have the glue fingers. So I'm just going to kind of spread this out. And then I can trim off the parts that are loose. And that should keep it from unraveling. Okay. Should probably wait till that dries, but you know, whatever. All right, so I'm gonna put this on so it's like blowing in the wind. That's kind of cute. I like it. Cut this better. There, see, and now it's sealed by my glue. So it shouldn't unravel anymore. And then I'm going to glue this together. Like that, and then attach it up here. Like so. And then plop my little flower on top. That's pretty. And now I'm getting burnt. Now that got hot. Oh, that's good. Oh, I got a little glue on the flower. Gotta pull our glue webs off. That's cute. I like it. So then all I need to do now, I can stand it up, which I will show you in a second. You can stand it up and I can write to do. And then I can write all the things I need to do, like finish DIY video. Like that. All right, so that's this little organizational DIY. I hope you like it. I certainly do. It's much better than just a piece of paper on my desk. Looks a lot prettier. Yeah, and I will show you what it looks like standing up in a moment. And here it is. I love it. This is going to be great for me to like write little notes to myself and not have to have a million little pieces of paper floating around. And then I can just wipe it off with one of my rags when I need to change it. So I like this one. This is another little organizing project I want to do. So for my craft room in here. So basically I have this old frame. It had a piece of artwork that I used to hang in my kitchen, but I'm not using that anymore. So I'm lucky. It actually has plexiglass, but you could do this with a frame that has glass. But I maybe wouldn't use the glass. I might cut a piece. You just need a piece that's going to fit in here. And we're basically gonna make, I saw it on Pinterest as like a letter holder, but I'm going to use it for, I have lots of little like craft cards that I pick up at Hobby Lobby, you know, the ideas cards. I think Michael's has them too, so I have those. I have notes from people and just like notes to myself. So it's just going to be a little place to tuck, you know, like either letters or notes or whatever the case would be. I just noticed I cracked my frame, but that's okay. It adds to the rustic look. Maybe I can, see that? It's cracked. But that's what happens when you use a recycled piece. Also, don't mind this. I was gardening today and a pine tree sapped me and I can't seem to get it off even when I scrub. So anyway, that's beside the point. Yeah, so we're just going to ignore that. And oop, all my little, there's these little sharp things that like hold the plexiglass in. They're all falling out, but that's fine. We'll be able to hot glue it in. Now, the one thing I will need to do, this thing is oriented to hang this way. I will need to remove these and put one up here so that I can hang it this way. I will do that, but probably not on camera. All I'll just be doing is moving that, drilling some holes, and putting it in there. So let's go ahead and get this project done, though, because this has been on my list for a while, and I just haven't gotten it done. So I'm going to be using burlap. Now, there are coffee places around us that will sell their coffee burlap bags. So I thought that would be kind of cool to use. It's called Dunn Brothers. So if you have a coffee place near you, they might do that for you, sell them to you for, you know, it's just like, it's like $1 a sack or something. If not, you can buy burlap. You can buy burlap ribbon, any of those things. And you don't even have to do burlap. Like a thick ribbon or a fabric would work for this. So, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. Basically, I'm going to cut this into strips. I want the print to show because I think it's kind of neat. So I'm going to move my frame and just use the plexiglass. And I'm basically going to be making little pockets. You want enough that you're going to be able to fold them over as well. So I think I want to do this. This is all going to be covered. Oh, there's one that says coffee. That's cute. Darn. Maybe I should have used that. Oh, well, I didn't see that until just now. That's okay. That's okay. 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 I'm going to cover this in burlap first so that it's not showing through. I need to cut enough so I have some extra to wrap around. Okay. Now I have a nice backdrop on which to work. And then I just want to make 2 little spots where I can tuck things in. This is far too much fabric, so I'm going to trim. This is where I'm going to need my little glue finger. You just got to make sure you do a little bit at a time to really get it to stick down. Okay. Now I just need to make sure that that's kind of straight. I'm not going to stick it on yet until I have this one done. Let's see what this is going to look like. Maybe I don't want that coffee flower. I think the red might be throwing me off. Maybe I'm going to get a different piece of burlap that doesn't have a coffee flower on it. I'll save that for something else. Oh, this is cute. I like this edge here. That's cute, and then I wouldn't have to glue anything. That's a good idea. I'm just gonna keep it double layered because I don't want it to fray if I like try to take it apart. What I've done here, I neglected to hit the record button, but I glued my pockets. I originally was gonna wrap them around the back, but they then wouldn't fit in the frame. So what I did was instead just glue them here off camera, and unintentionally off camera. And now I'm just trimming it. And it looks ugly on the back, but you're not going to see that because I'm going to cover it. So that should fit in our frame. Let's see. And I want the top to not have the broken corner, so I actually am going to put it in like this. Yeah. Okay. Then the idea here, it's a little crooked, but that's okay. The idea, because it's going to be covered by stuff. So then the idea here is I can put, just use the card I used before, you know, like little things like this. So if there's things I want to hold on to, I can just tuck them into there, you know, pretend this is a card. A lot of times I have cards I need to respond to, letters I need to respond to, so I can keep those in there, pictures, you know, all that good stuff. Cute. Okay, so let's finish the back. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove these screws. I'm going to use my handy dandy drill. This is my Black & Decker drill. I got this as a set with a sander. I do this, I'm going to turn off the volume for this part. This is something I like to do on my cross stitch projects. Now, this one's about Christmas, but that's fine. No one's going to see it. But I use, oh, this one's not all about, this is about The Hobbit. It was a dark and stormy night. So I just, if I get pretty paper bags from stores, I'll hold on to them. And then I can use it as paper. Oh, I just need a big sheet. Actually, I don't even, that section will be just fine. You can do it with scrapbook paper, wrapping paper, and I'm going to use a different kind of glue. You could use Mod Podge. I'm going to use this Tight Bond. I really like this white glue. It's just like a upgrade of Elmer's, but it works really well. So. I want it to be sort of straight, and that's the tricky part, but I know this seam was pretty straight, so. And I just want it to hang over just a little bit because I'm going to use my sanding block to take the edges off. You've seen me do that. I'm sure you've seen it in plenty of other channels, DIY channels do that, so. Now I have my sanding block, and I'm just going to sand off the excess. And there you have it, my nicely finished back of the frame. And so here's my little, I guess we could call it like a letter holder or a mail holder that I can tuck things into. If I want to, this is a little drawing that Hannah did when she was little. There we go. Cute little way to organize. and upcycle something. I wanted to show it to you before. I did, I wiped it down with vinegar and water because it had a little bit of a stink to it. And then I sanded the top just a little. I'm not going for smooth, but it, you can kind of see the varnish was flaking on top for some reason. So I didn't think that would be ideal to paint on, but then the wood was getting really rough. So it's going to be rough on top, but that's okay. I'm going to try painting the top with the Fusion mineral paint. And I think then the rest I'm going to do white. So that's the plan as it stands. I'm just going for something a little different than just all white or all green or whatever. So let's go ahead and see how it turns out. Okay, here's the update. Don't mind the mess, but this is the primer I was using, primer and sealer, interior, exterior. It's not doing a good enough job. I'll show you why. And this happened when I painted my kitchen cabinets too. Do you see the like varnish or whatever? It's coming through. So I'm going to need to get the same primer that I used when I did my kitchen cabinets, which, by the way, I look great almost 4 years later. I should do a video about that because they've really held up well. So it's called Zinsser BIN shellac-based primer. That's the one that I need to get because that really blocks the stains, because I was having the same problem on the kitchen cabinets, looked exactly the same. See that? And it's never happened in all the years since I painted them. Okay, BIN shellac-based primer. So it's Zinsser BIN, B-I-N. I don't know if you're supposed to say it or spell it. Shellac-based primer for the win. So it looks so much better already. This is not bleed through. That is just shadowing of the rough wood. So it's not bleeding. Yay. I don't even know if I'll have to do a second coat. I might just move on to paint because I'm not seeing any stains bleed through. If you ever want to paint furniture and you have problems with the varnish bleeding through, use this stuff. Update. So I got the top green. You can't tell in this light. It is green though. I haven't painted the body white with white paint yet. That's still just the primer because the drawers need another coat of primer. Then I'll do it all at once. So the body will be white. But then I had the best idea. Do you remember this? I thrifted it for like $3. I've been using it on my desk as it was, but I decided I'm going to paint it that same green color. I'm not going to use it on my desk as a desk organizer because it hasn't been really serving me. But I think it'd be cute as like a little place for little decorative things and whatever, maybe some, you know, I don't know, things on top of the little dresser. I thought that would be cute. So I'm going to paint it the green and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Here it is all done. I showed this to you in another video if you watched the video where I actually thrifted it. But I don't remember in that video if I had my Raggedy Ann and Andy collection on there. I think I did. I don't remember. Anyway, here it is. I think it looks great. It's perfect for the spot. A lot of you have asked me how I display my vintage hanky collection. Well, to be honest, I don't. I generally just use my hankies in my displays around my home, in my vignettes. But I would like to display my collection rather than just having them in a basket or a drawer. I can't take credit for this idea. Robin Johnson from Robin Johnson, the YouTube channel Robin Johnson, sent me this idea years ago. I got the spoon rest years ago with the intention of doing it for this, using it for this purpose, but I never flipped it. So anyway, I got mine for 49 cents. They've gone up in price since then, but you can find these at the thrift stores pretty easily. I see them pretty often. So you just grab one of these. We're going to paint it up. It's going to look lovely. I did want to tell you, they do tend to collect dust in these little crevices. So I just used a paintbrush and some cleaner to get the dust out just so my paint will adhere properly. But I did that prior to this video. So I'm going to use this paint. You could use a chalk paint. I'm going to use this mineral paint. It's supposed to have good adhesion. I had bought this with the intention of painting a piece of furniture and just never got around to it. And I think this will be a nice color. It's kind of a gray green. I didn't want to just do white because a lot of my hankies are white and I don't, I want them to show up a little better. So I'm going to try this color. And then you need a brush, obviously a spoon holder, and I'm going to use one of these little Dollar Tree emblems just to give this a little interest up here. You could make something using that like air dry clay, but I'm going to try this and just paint over it and see how it looks. I think it's going to look fine. So we'll give that a try, and yeah, let's see what we think. And then I'll show it to you styled with all the hankies. I think that'll be fun. So first things first, I'm going to attach this before I paint. And it's pretty sticky. It might actually even just, that's really, really a strong adhesive. I think I'm gonna put a little E6000 on it. I have my E6000. It was kind of getting sealed up, but I got it open. I'm not gonna put a ton on here because I do think this adhesive is gonna be pretty strong. The one that's actually on the sticker, so I don't think we need a lot of this, but this is just like for a good measure that we're gonna put this on. Oh, Penny's barking up here. So I just want it as like a little extra decoration on my thing. I want to make sure, oh, that really sticks well. Shoot. Woo, gotta make sure I get it where I want it to be because that has very strong adhesive on it. Good job, Dollar Tree. All right, let's check out this mineral paint. I've never tried this. Has anyone else tried this mineral paint? Let's see if it's any good. It was not cheap. And I only got it because I thought I was doing a piece of furniture flip. Maybe I will still, but whew. Okay, well, it's a pretty color. Oh. Okay. Oh, I think we're going to get good coverage on that. Just going to need a little time to dry. A tip for painting I wanted to show you, I am using a smaller brush to get in all these little crevices where the spoons would be held because it's really hard to get into them otherwise. So definitely don't be afraid to use more than one kind of brush. Here's the in-between. Here is after coat number 1. Definitely going to need at least a second coat, possibly a third or a second coat with a touch-up coat. Okay, it is day 2 and I put a second coat on. I think that's all it needs. I really like this paint, this mineral paint. I would definitely get this again. I love the color, but I really love the coverage that I got from it. Now, I probably didn't use the right brush because I did get some brush marks. And if I were being really retentive, I could sand that with a really fine sandpaper. I've done that before to smooth out the brush marks. But those are going to be covered by the hanging hankies, so I'm not too worried about them. I am going to take my little sanding block and just scuff it up a little bit because, you know, I like the rustic look. So, oh, and look, there's my little emblem from Dollar Tree. I think it looks great, and it's not going anywhere. And my husband was like, "Oh, you put that on there? You can't even tell." I was like, "Yep, that's the point." So I'm going to use my sanding block because I can't find my sandpaper. I don't know what I did with it. So we'll just use this. I prefer to use a piece of sandpaper for this, but this will be fine. I'm just going to scuff it up just a little bit. You know what? I am not loving this. I got to find my sandpaper. Hold on. All right, I found a sheet of sandpaper. I prefer this. Then I just have more control over what's happening. Okay, so now I just have a little alcohol. I'm just wiping it down just a little. Make sure it's all clear of dust. And then I am going to put a coat of Mod Podge on top of it. I actually don't know if you need to seal this because it feels a lot different than chalk paint. But I'm going to just put a coat of Mod Podge. I probably could look it up, but you know what? I don't feel like taking my phone down because I film with my phone. I don't feel like looking it up right now. So we're just going to go with that. I don't think Mod Podge will hurt it at all. So that's what we will do. All right, so here's my Mod Podge. This is dishwasher safe. I don't need dishwasher safe for this, but that's what I have. So I'm just going to brush a light layer over it. And then it seals up all those rough corners that I just made so that everything stays as it is. Okay, I'm interrupting my crafting to tell you this. These are the kinds of things I'm like, do I put this in the video? Do I not put this in the video? We're going to keep it real though, because crafting is about making mistakes. So here's what I found out. Sorry, my hand got in the shot. Here's what I found out. You actually do not need to use a top coat with the mineral paint. You can use it if you're afraid about like a high traffic kind of situation. Okay, so that being said, I did use Mod Podge. However, I used the wrong Mod Podge. So I have 2 dishwasher safe Mod Podges, and that's all that I have. I thought they were the same. No, apparently this one is glossy and this one is matte. So I used the glossy one, which then I did not like it at all. You can see it hanging behind me. I will tell you why. Because that's where it's going to be. That's where I'm going to put it. And every time the light hit it, I was seeing the gloss. And I'm like, oh, I don't like glossy things. So then I tried putting the matte Mod Podge over top of the glossy. Well, that didn't really do it. So then I just wound up putting another coat of paint. So now it's drying and it's nice and matte. And I will have to re-sand my corners a little bit. I didn't do like a full coat, just enough to cover the glossy bits. So anyway, that's my mistake. And that's the information now that I have about so now I like it even more, the Fusion, because you don't even have to use a top coat, which I really should have read before I painted. But you know, sometimes you just plow right in and start. Again, because I'm not a professional crafter, this is just me crafting and filming it for you. So that's the scoop. Oops, I usually keep that closed. That is my craft closet. You're seeing my mess in there. Anyway, okay, so that's my update. And before I continue, look what I did. So now I will never make that mistake again. I have marked it with a Sharpie to warn myself that this is glossy. Here is the finished product after I scuffed the edges again with a little sandpaper after my additional coat of paint to cover my glossy Mod Podge. But now I'll go ahead and put the hankies in. I think it's going to be so cute. I have a stack of hankies. And so basically all you do is you take your hanky and fold it in a little square. And then you just tuck it, you pull it through the little spoon holder. And it just stays. And you just want to make sure, like, if there's a design, sorry, I just pulled it out. If there's a design you want to have show up, you want to make sure that that's showing. And I don't know that I have enough to fill it, so I'm going to do every other for now. And then we'll go from there. That's a pretty one. Let's see, do I want... I'll do it this way. And then every other kind of lets me space them out a little. Oh, this is a cute one. This one looks like the Laverne and Shirley L. I like that. Oh, and my spoon holder already had something to hang it by, but if you didn't have a hanger on it, you would want to obviously put something on the back. And this one's pretty. It has, and then like if I want to use them in my decor, I could just come and grab them out. But I like the ones with embroidery on them. So I thought that was really pretty. I could press it, but I'm not going to do that right now for this video. Maybe if it starts to bother me enough, I'll steam them or something. There's another embroidered. This one's cross-stitched. Cool. We'll put that one at the top because it's cross-stitched. Oops. Ooh, this is someone called this pulled something embroidery and someone called it hardanger. I'm not sure which is correct, but that was really pretty. It has that in each corner. So I'm sure I have more somewhere, but again, like I said, I just kind of keep them with my stuff for my decor. I haven't really displayed them before, so as I find them, I can put more, but I think that looks so cute. I love it. And here's a close-up. So cute. Step to the side so you can see the full effect. It's a great little vintage display. Project was inspired by something I saw on a blog called Sunnyside Design. Hers was slightly different. She used a child's plastic trick-or-treating pumpkin. I'm going to use this pumpkin that I've previously painted. It's one of those foam ones from the Dollar Tree. I'm also using an old pair of jeans. They are washed, but I got them at the Goodwill outlet bins where you shop by the pound. So the first thing I did was to put my pumpkin on the leg of the denim jeans and just kind
kind of wrapped it to see how long of a strip I would need to go all the way around my pumpkin. And again, if you were using a larger pumpkin, you could do this obviously with a larger pumpkin as well. The next step was to cut that leg of the jeans into several strips to be able to wrap them around the pumpkin. I had planned to use my rotary cutter with my mat, but I couldn't find my large mat, and that was a problem. So I did wind up switching to scissors, but you can see here I'm just cutting the trim off the bottom of the jeans leg first, and I set that aside because I do use that later. And then I cut the fabric from the leg of the jeans into strips, and each strip was about 1.5 inches wide. I used my mat to measure, but I did see here use my scissor to do the actual cutting because I just couldn't do it with the little mat. It was giving me problems. Scissors for the win. And then it's a super easy project. All you do is you put a little bit of glue at that top hole. Now, I would recommend, if you decide to try this, making the top hole of the pumpkin a little bit larger, because you can see later, I actually couldn't fit my stem in the hole once all of the denim was glued. So make that hole a little bit bigger. Don't make the same mistake I did. It was useful to have this little silicone finger from the Dollar Tree that protected my finger, because it is very hot with the fabric and the hot glue. So make sure if you try this, you don't burn yourself. So I just went around the entire pumpkin, attaching, just wrapping the strips of denim from one side of the pumpkin all the way underneath, and then up and into the hole from the other side. So here's where you can see there's really no hole left. I even had to use my scissors to get the last little bit of fabric to go down at all. So that's why I would recommend a bigger hole, but here it is all covered in denim. Now, the original project used these strips from the edge of the jeans, like the seam from the edge, as an embellishment. When I was first making my pumpkin, I didn't attach these. You'll see I kind of throw in the towel on that, but I did come back the next morning. I was like, I really like that added detail. So I did go back and use these as an embellishment on my finished pumpkin. I grabbed these twirly twine embellishments from my stash. They're originally from Walmart a few years ago. If you didn't have this, you could use jute, the wired jute cord from the Dollar Tree, or just some regular twine. So I just used my wire cutter to cut off some of the little curly cues, and then I attached them along with the wine cork as a stem. I decided I also wanted to use some leaves, but I didn't want these to look so much like maple leaves. They're the little burlap leaves from the Dollar Tree, so I just kind of trimmed them up. I think I also have an oak leaf that I also trimmed up just to disguise it a little bit. And then I attached all of the embellishments to the top of my pumpkin using hot glue. And here's this little cutie pumpkin. I really like this. I could foresee myself making some more of these with maybe some darker or different shades of denim. I think that would be really cute. Maybe some different sizes. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. For this next DIY thrift flip, I'm going to be starting with this Bushel basket. I don't remember where I found this. I've had it in my stash a while. And then I also have this vintage spool. I'm going to be taking the thread off of that, but that will also be used in this project. I also use some other things, but I kind of build as I go when I craft, so I wasn't sure what I was going to be using when I started. So this project was inspired by something I saw out at an antique and vintage shop last year. And then I also saw that Heidi Sonbol made something similar a few weeks back, which was funny. So I first went ahead and removed the handle from this Bushel basket, and, had to be careful doing this. Anytime you're deconstructing an item, you should just be a little bit careful. So I kind of used some tools in ways they weren't meant to be used, but I just needed to pry off the little staple and nail. It's actually like a nail that was holding the handle on. And once I had the handle removed from both sides, then the next step was to paint it. I had wiped this down. I didn't take footage of that, but always important when you're doing thrift flips, always important to have clean items. And then I needed to remove the sticker from the bottom. I used this handy dandy little razor blade. It's actually like a plastic razor blade. Super useful if you're afraid of using like regular metal razor blades. This is a way to get similar effectiveness without the danger of cutting yourself. Once the sticker was all off, I just used my sanding block just to get off any sticky residue that was left behind. And then I used some acrylic paint to paint my pumpkin. I did mix a few colors because the orange that I had was just a little brighter than I wanted it to be. So I added in like a little bit of a reddish brownish color, and that toned down the orange a little bit. I always like to share this trick. I got the idea from Ginger Chick Rehab. I use this old Lazy Susan when I'm painting. It makes it much easier to turn the project and get to the different sides. And then here I'm just showing you that I did wind up using this brush to get into the crevices of my bushel basket. So the foam brush for the larger surfaces, and then the brush to get into the little crevices. Just a little tip if you decide to try this yourself. And then I took my little bottle of white wax as well as a rag and some water, and I just applied a very light, not super full coat of white wax to the paint. And I was just trying to give it like almost like a dry brush technique without it looking so much like it was paint. I just kind of wanted it to look like, you know, pumpkins have different shades and darknesses and lights, and I was just trying to give it a little more depth to my paint job. And the process I use to apply wax is I just use kind of a dampened rag to apply wax, and then I use my rag to wipe some of the wax off until it achieves the desired effect that I'm going for. So here's what it looked like after my white wax was applied. And then it was time to create the stem. I used my scissor to remove the old thread from the spool, and then I wrapped the spool in twine. I started at the bottom of the spool with a little bit of hot glue, and it's not necessary to glue all of the twine on. You kind of just have to get a good start. So I got it attached really well at the bottom, and also on the kind of sloped part of the spool, I had to use a little bit more glue. But then you can see as I went, I was really just wrapping it until I got to the end, and then I glued it again on the other sloped part of the spool. Here is what my spool looks like all wrapped in twine, and then I used my hot glue to attach it to the top of the bushel basket. I pulled another leaf from my stash, and again, it's another Dollar Tree leaf. And then I also pulled this little tag from my stash, as well as this wooden word that says fall. I think that originally came from Target probably last year, but I just wanted to create some little embellishments for the top of my pumpkin. So a super easy craft, but here it is all finished up. I love this thing. And while I think it looks cute on that basket, we do store blankets in there, so I'm trying to keep it kind of clear of decor, except for that little throw blanket. So I decided I'm going to use this pumpkin down in front of my fireplace, kind of on the hearth area. For my next thrift flip DIY for fall, I'm going to be upcycling this metal bird cage. I found this at the Goodwill outlet bins probably about a year ago, and I'm just getting around to flipping it. It did get a little bent in the bins, but that's okay. I'm going to be taking care of that, and you won't notice it at all. I did a bit of mixing for my paint color. I wanted to get like a tannish, minerally kind of color. I don't have the stash of chalk paints that a lot of DIYers do, so I was just using some of the acrylic paints that I have, and I just kept adding color until I came up with something that I liked, and I actually really liked it in the end. And then I gave the birdcage 2 coats of the paint that I had mixed up. I did have to wait in between coats. It was metal, so it took a little bit longer to dry, but I did feel like I got good coverage. And then not on the video, I did give it a top coat using this Mod Podge top coat, which I'll show you in a second. I will tell you, I don't love that top coat, but I have it and I'm going to use it up.
and then I probably won't buy it again. And then I attached a piece of styrofoam floral foam into the center of the birdcage with hot glue. I used hot glue because just in case I change my mind at some point and want to reuse the birdcage for something else, the hot glue will enable me to still be able to take the foam off. And then I had a bunch of florals, and you'll see as I go here, I kind of had a few different iterations of the floral arranging. It's hard to get good footage of that piece of the process, but basically you just kind of have to style the flowers until you like the way that they look. And my intention was to wrap the bottom of the styrofoam with raffia, but apparently I ran out of raffia, so I need to get more. But I improvised with this boxwood. I just had some little boxwood sprigs in my stash, and I just kind of stuck those into the arrangement where the styrofoam was still showing, and it did the same job as the raffia did, and actually wound up looking really nice, so I was pleased with that. It was a happy accident. And here's what it looked like with the floral arrangement. And then I really wanted to add a little bow to the top, just a little extra pop. I could definitely have left it like this, and if you're not into bows, this would be a fine stopping point. But I decided to put a little orange bow on top just to tie in. I'm doing a lot of oranges and blues with like pops of sunflower in my fall decor. So I just got this big roll of ribbon that I've picked up at the Dollar Tree this year and made a big bow. Fortunately, I'm pretty good at tying bows, but if you're not good at tying bows, there's lots of ways to get around that process and lots of videos on YouTube about how to make different kinds of bows. But I just tied a simple, I call it a shoelace bow, and then I snipped the ends by folding them in half just to make them look finished. And then I had this little blackboard tag in my stash, and I got my white chalk marker, and I just wanted to write a little tag on it that says a season for everything. If you follow me on any of my other channels, I do have a vlog channel, and I've mentioned that 3 of my children recently moved away or to college and 1 out. And so I feel like I'm in a season of change, and so that verse has really been kind of getting me through. So I wanted to write up a tag to just remind myself that there's a season for everything, and this is just a season of change. So anyway, that's what I did on my little tag, and then I attached it with hot glue. And here it is all complete. This is not where it's going in my home. It's actually going to be down on my landing, but my landing was not camera ready when I filmed this. I just filmed it here, but I'll be using this down at the entry of my home. For my next thrift flip DIY project for fall, I had this little crate, and I think I got this at Target several years ago now. And I'm also using some paint stirring sticks and some paint from my stash. This is based on a sign that I saw. I really like the sign, but I thought I could make a very similar looking thing on this crate, and then it would be useful, more useful than a sign. I could actually use it. I'm actually probably going to use what I make here to hold napkins on my kitchen island. That's what I'm thinking for this. Anyway, so I needed a nice shade of gold and then also a shade of white, but I wanted to do like a little bit of an off-white and then some orange. So I just mixed up some paints like I did in the other projects until I saw the shades that I wanted. And then I painted up the sides of my crate. And then I used a little bit of brown paint to paint up the ends of these stir sticks. These are going to act as pumpkin stems. And then I used my little battery operated Black & Decker sander to sand some of the paint off, because in the inspiration piece, it was more of a primitive rustic look. So I wanted to take a bit of the paint off. And then here's what it looked like all sanded up. I really liked the way that it looked. Then I just used my paint markers to write, "Gather together, give thanks, eat pie." And that's what I saw on the sign. I just thought that was so cute and kind of different. I do have a vinyl cutting machine. I have a Cricut, but to be honest with you, on some projects, it's just easier just to write it. I have decent handwriting, and I think it's nice for my family to have things that I hand wrote. So you could definitely use a Cricut if you have it and want to do that, but it was just easier for me to use the paint pens. And I made this a 2-sided basket, so it says the same thing on both sides.
And I used my little clipper to cut off the ends of the paint stirrer sticks so that I could use those as stems for my little basket. And I did dry brush just a little white paint on both sides of the stems so that it just wouldn't look so just brown. And then I attached the stems to the basket using hot glue. And then I made an embellishment for the both sides of the pumpkin using this wired jute cord from the Dollar Tree. I just wrapped it around a pen and used my wire cutter to snip it, and that created little curly cues like you would find on a pumpkin. And then I also used a little bit of burlap ribbon, and I attached it all to the tops of the pumpkin stems using hot glue. Here it is, all embellished. I think this turned out really cute. All right, that's it for this compilation video. I hope you enjoyed all of these ideas. Maybe this little last part gets you thinking about fall, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.